Hello guys, and welcome back to another MoreBlox tutorial. So today what we're going to be looking at is how to mod your basically like more blocks so you can add more barrels and stuff. We have just the regular barrel. We'll start with just placing a new one down, and then we can go ahead and see that there's an inventory. We can grab a copy of the gold bars. And then we can see that the texture updates to our modded barrel. So basically I've added support for all these barrels to be customized, and they're able to be updated so you can add your own barrels and stuff like that. There's all these different ones, as you can see here, that aren't under the actual workspace for the mod. So we'll be covering some of the mechanics, some of the other things that you can do with it. For example, if we have silver, we can turn on this, and then the pigs will breed. So it's possible to do that with these ones. So you can breed your own custom mobs and stuff like that. If you can see that the number is dropped, and we can disable that if we don't want to. It's a default 5-minute timer. And then we can enable this, though I think he's attracted to the other one. I still have to fix that in the in a patch, but basically if we just go ahead over to the other one, we can get him to do that. Just kind of hoping that he's going to come over here. I think he's getting confused by the two different barrels that are open, so I'll fix that in a patch. So we'll go ahead and we'll just close this one over here, and he should start going that way. So as soon as he goes this way, he should be able to consume the item. So there's 3 different types of consuming. There's one that drops the item in front of the entity, one that adds it to the inventory of the entity, and then there's one that will just consume it completely. So okay, so going into the blocks, you need at least 2 blocks for the barrels, one open and one closed. There's some barrel tags that you need for the entity if you're going to add support for your own entity. And then there's these particular procedures for the update tick. These ones have different commands, which are basically run. All this is documented on the MoreBlox GitHub wiki, so you guys can get the commands and stuff like that. You can also type them out in game, and then they'll have more information on that. So starting with those, we have the tags for these. These are required. There's blocks for the barrels. All the blocks or the barrel blocks are under these tags here. So there's this one, which basically is under the blocks tab, more blocks, and more blocks items. It's also called barrels. So these are the 2 important ones for the block types. And then there is barrels/allowed _ items and more blocks items, and this is where you put your resource that you want to add to the barrel. And next, what you need to do is actually make your block. So when you have this, you're going to have your particle texture, your other texture. I'll provide a default barrel so you guys can easily set this up. So you can update the model itself and just remove the 0.05 version in that particular thing, and you can select single texture, because we don't really need any particular texture for this. We can actually inherit a lot of properties. We'll be doing some configuration later on in the video. So there's the name. You'll want to make this pretty simple, like gold coin barrel. There's always a barrel at the end. And then the settings are pretty much unique however you want to set them up, but these are generally the properties that I've set up here. You might want to use loot tables, so you drop the MoreBlock loot item, but if not, then you can go ahead and use a error, and then you can actually drop it through basically procedure-wise, because I don't think loot tables support namespaces. So properties, these are all pretty much the same. You need 27 slots, 64 item stacks. These 2 things need to be checked, and MBT needs to be enabled. If you're going to add more blocks for the empty barrel when you drop, you're going to want to make a new procedure and just clean this up a little bit. And then you're going to want to basically go ahead and spawn gem. And then what you're going to go is to item properties and scroll down until you find the one that says registry. and then you want to basically go MoreBlox empty underscore barrel. And right, once you've done that, you can add them to both of the breaking properties. So there's no generation properties that you need. The closed barrel uses pretty much all the same properties that you would imagine. So all the hitboxes, the only difference is the name pretty much. And you would want to select the same drop properties for the off version. You don't need an update tick for this though, so you don't need to enable that. It still needs 27 slots and 64 item in stacks, so you will need to drop your properties here. It doesn't need the update tick, and that's basically that one. Once you've done that, what you want to do is you want to lock the code. Before you do that though, what you want to do is make sure that you go ahead and regenerate the code and then build, and that's the little orange thing up there and on the next to the play button, and then there's the hammer next to it. So the next thing that we need to do is we need to go ahead and set up the configuration file. So there is the config for basically going ahead and getting the date. This will allow us to tell if there's any particular change in the configuration file. This will make sure that if there's an update to the file, then it will go ahead and set it up. The other one was for something else. I can't remember what, but it was important. And then there's the variable that we need for our mod. This is a global map one. We need this to be a number one. And we also need a update date, which we'll be keeping track of. So once we've done that, what we can do is we can set up a procedure like this. This is all going to be linked in the description, so you'll be able to get the files that you need for this project, as well as the workspace to kind of help you along with that. What's happening here is we're going to be calling a procedure each time for the actual script. So ID, open, close, those are all the config files for this particular barrel. And we're calling a procedure that will basically make sure that it gets the right particular property when we need to set it. So each time this variable updates, a new one will be added to this procedure. And we're doing this a number of times through the repeater, which allows us to go ahead and get the amount of items that we need. And then we're just writing to the file. Now, when you're adding these procedures for File Manager, make sure to set up the object files or variables, local variables, or they will not import properly. So do that first before you import the procedure. These are the script files, are pretty straightforward. We have the one for the barrel list, or I think this is barrels IDs. So this is the ID one. So basically we're just assigning a item name and the namespace for the item, so we know what item it is. Then we have the next one, which is the open. These are the barrels, the barrel registries. And then we have the closed one, which is barrel registries. And then we have the source item, which is basically going to be the item that you're going to be storing. And then we have the I think it's the action list, or attract list, sorry. This is basically where you put your attraction entity tags. And then we have one for the breed tags, which is basically for when you want to breed something, you can put the tag that you have under your mod under this one. So those are the main tags for the properties and stuff. So those are pretty straightforward when it comes down to what you need. The tags, these are the entity tags. In this case, what I have is for the entity for being attracted, and this is the one for being breeding. So you just put it under your own mod namespace. It's nothing important. Then you can just specify it in the config where it needs to be directed to. Other than that, those are the different blocks. I don't think there's anything that you need. Once you go ahead and basically finish this step, make sure to lock the blocks. then go to this following path. It might be a little bit different based on the starting of the location. You'll find these files here, which can consist of these barrels for when they're in their open and closed state. So we want to actually open. We'll just work on the barrel, the close or the iron one. We want the open one and the closed one. So but basically what we're going to be doing here is we're going to go ahead and we're going to get the parent, which is going to be the MoreBlox custom barrel underscore close. That's the closed one. And then you can just basically set up the label for your barrel itself. You're going to put that under your own namespace. And then you want to have all these textures here. So your labels, I'll provide a template for that in the description as in the part of that workspace. And then you're going to want your barrel textures as well. So for this case, that's the barrel one. Everything else, all the other properties can be the same. And then the other one for the open barrel, this one just requires the lid texture to be updated. So all these other textures are just getting it off of the vanilla one. Or actually, I think it's MoreBlox possibly. Or no, some of them are Minecraft. And then you basically just go ahead and update those and then save them. As long as the block is locked, it will remain unaffected when you regenerate the code. So basically you can just paste these over. I suggest making a copy of the ones that you make changes to so you can easily replace them if you have to unlock the block. This is generally the texture that you use. You put in the texture in the middle of it. And then in here we have like a line system. So this is what I used to make the barrel labels. That's the character set that I used, what I created. So you basically just copy one of these over and then paste them into the little sections, and then you can give a space between, and then that would consist of your thing. If you need more space, you just move over to the new line and move things up and then start on the first line again. So that's basically the template. You just delete the dark colors after. And yeah, basically once it's all done that, what you'll need to do is you'll need to make sure that you'll open up the workspace, go to the logs, config, and there's settings. So this is the date for the last updated, and that's where your mod's going to be pointing to. We want to force an update, which we can turn this to true, and MoreBlox will automatically go, okay, I need to update the configuration, and then the date will update, and then the files will generate. So it's based on either if the version updates or if the game, like if it's forced update or the date has changed. So in this case, the date change should allow mods to basically add their own. So in this case, as you can see here, we've basically inserted our own texture or our own configuration at the bottom of the file, so it's automatically assigned a new variable and everything like that. So that's basically it. It's pretty straightforward. Again, I suggest downloading the workspace that I used in the tutorial, and then you guys can kind of see how everything is set up. Anyhow, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.